Stories help us to understand the world around us. They allow us to laugh, they allow us to cry, they give us the ability to feel and provide us with an outlet to heal. Join me as I get to know some of the amazing people behind the stories that we read in order to truly discover the story that has been hidden within each of us. My name is Bree Smith, and this is the Author Push Talk Show. Welcome to the Author Push Talk Show. Today we have an amazing guest. She is a children's book author of 14 books. Please welcome Miss Annette Smith. Yay! So thank you so much for being here today, Miss Annette. I'm just so excited just to learn more about your books and your background. So thank you so much for coming on today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So can you tell the viewers a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm Annette Bentley Smith, and I am a children's book author as well as a toy creator. Married for 34 years. I have 2 children and 1 granddaughter.
Yay, awesome, awesome, awesome. I love it. I love it. I love it. So can you tell us a little bit about your books? You can just name a few in particular, and then we'll just dive more into just your different types of books you have.
Well, the latest one I wrote probably about a month or 2 ago was regarding my granddaughter. She's biracial, and she loves dolls. So she wanted a doll to look for a doll that matched her skin color. So that was a little bit of a journey. We had a little bit difficult time trying to find one that actually matched her skin color, but a friend of mine, Delane, she went online and found one, and we surprised her with it.
Oh, awesome, awesome. So I know you've written a lot of children's books. So is like your children's book like a series? Or are they like just separate books about different topics?
They're separate books about different topics. I have 2 books that is like a series for grandparents,
Okay.
and then I have one. I have one about wearing braces, which was my journey. I have one of a little special book. It was a book project by my youngest son called "A Sleepover in the Deep Blue Sea." I have a book about wearing masks. I have a bullying book that's been one of my biggest projects because it was a real story based on my friend's little girl. She was in 1st grade and bullied by a 5th grader.
Mm.
I have a book about accepting who you are, accepting your skin tone, recycling books, a book about fostering dogs. It's just a variety of books.
Oh yeah, I love it. And the 2 that really stuck out to me would probably be the bullying one. I'm a children's book author as well, so but mine is more Christian based.
Mm-hmm.
I had written a book about my journey being bullied in elementary school too.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I really resonate with that. I would love to learn more about that. And then I love the book too that you have on acceptance, because I know that was another big thing that I had to deal with growing up, just like learning to love and accept myself. I felt like I was always trying to be like, okay, let me mask who I am so I can fit in, so these people stop bullying me, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Right,
um,
right.
and so, yeah, I really would love to learn more about those. Those are, man. Yes, ma'am. So, can you go a little bit more in depth about the bullying book, about the story?
Well, like I said, she was a friend. My friend's little girl was in 1st grade, and the other girl was in 5th grade. And so, as far as this, I didn't write my story exactly how it happened in the school. I kind of fictionalized it, but it still, kind of centers on what happened. but she had, the fifth grader lured my friend's little girl in the bathroom and just assaulted her. And this little girl was a lot bigger than she was. And you could pull up her story. Her name is Lanira Tackett. It happened about, I don't know, about 5 years ago, I believe. And, she ended up with scarred face, and yeah, she really, she really hurt her physically and mentally and emotionally. So I wanted something positive to come out of this, even though it was a bad situation. So that's why I wrote the book called Naira's Bully. But the unique thing about it was I X'd out the bully, and underneath it I put friend. So in the end, the bully ended up getting help. There was forgiveness, within the book, and they became friends.
Amen.
So that I there was a bookstore that really gave me a hard time. They wouldn't accept my book because it promoted forgiveness.
Mm,
So I was like, that's okay. My book will take its own journey. You don't have to accept it.
right.
But, a bully is a person too. There's something going on in their lives that make them do what they do. But when they get the right help, you never know what can happen.
Right, right. Amen. So, with this particular story, now, did her mother like come against the school or the school board or anything? Or or was it immediately able to be rectified? Did they like, was the
Well,
parent rectified and all that?
in
Mhm.
the story, the parents, um they kind of, well, let's see, how do I put it? The little girl ended up having a pool party, and the parents allowed the girls to come together during that time.
Mhm.
And that's when they, forgave one another. The bully went through a special school to get help for her bullying.
Mhm.
She got counseling, and then the kids end up coming together in the book at the pool party.
That's awesome. But in real life, were they ever able to rectify that? Like the young girl?
Oh, in real life, no. She was in real life. The girl was pulled from school. The parents never came together. That's why I ended the book the way that I did, because she didn't have a good ending. We
Mm,
don't know what happened to the bully, um, or what. I don't know what the end situation was with that. I think they went to court and everything about what she did to her, what the bully did to her.
right.
But as far as what actually happened to the real bully, I don't know.
Right. But I love, like, at least in the story, you made it something that I believe that we should all attempt to do, right? Is to try
Mhm.
to rectify the situation. And I love how you had the ability to get help, you know.
Mhm.
I know because my journey, especially with mental health, I realized that if my parents probably would have put me into some mental health when I was younger, I don't believe I would have carried a lot of that baggage, especially all the emotional baggage from the bullying. Plus, I was abused as a kid growing up as well in the household. So I had so much going on. I just carried all this anger and animosity. So I'm a big, big proponent of, mental health and getting yourself together and self-love. So I love that. I love that.
Mhm. Right.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, and can you tell us just a little bit more about the self-acceptance book too?
Well, that's that's a little unique in itself. All my books are I would say, unique, but I just took inanimate objects
Mhm.
and um, pulled the good and the bad from each object. Like, uh, I'm trying to think of one that I used, like a red light. A red light is used to help cars stop and go, which is a positive, but the negative, you're always out in inclement weather.
Mhm.
Would you want to be me? or would you want to just, accept yourself? So I just took inanimate objects, pulled the good and the bad from it, the positives and the negatives to being that object, or would you just want to be yourself? Would you want to be me, or would you just want to be yourself?
Oh, I love that. I do. Yeah, I love that. Oh man, I wish I would have had a book like that as a kid. No, for
Yeah,
real. I mean, they had a lot of good books, but that's really interesting. Yeah, I love
yeah. It makes you think about the positives and negatives of yourself, the
that.
positives and negatives of inanimate objects, and just one, I guess my imagination is I have a wild imagination, and just one day as an adult, just riding down the road thinking, what if I was a road? What if I was a door? What if I was a traffic light? What if I was a sign? What are the good and bad to be these things? But what about myself? What are the good and bad to be me? And that was my ultimate goal with that book.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. I love it. Because sometimes I'm not gonna lie, I'll think like that too. I'm like, oh, what if God would have made me an animal? You know what I mean? Like that. So I love that. I love that concept. So what had your journey been like as an author overall?
it it's been hard. Like when you self-publish, you're in charge of the whole process, right? The
Yeah.
funding the journey was the most difficult part. And it's even more difficult, when you're not really seeing that return on investment that you want to see. Which brings me to my second most difficult part of my journey, and that's marketing. I'm an introvert, right? So I hide behind my computer. But of course, there's only so much you can do behind a computer. So I kind of got discouraged. I actually stopped writing for a while. Um, yeah, I couldn't break through that traditional publishing, going through the brick and mortar type deal. And then back in 2012, I lost my father. I found him unresponsive. He had coded while he was in the hospital and nobody knew about it.
Oh my
I
God.
just walked in his room and he had coded. There was no alarm, no nothing. He was just laying there. He ended up brain dead, and it was a horrendous thing that I went through. So I already suffered with depression, and that just sent me into a deeper depression. So I had to figure out a way to come out of it. So I went back to my writing, and this time, excuse me, this time it was much easier because Amazon came out with a platform called Create Space. It was a free platform
Mhm.
for authors to self-publish their books, but now it's called KDP, which is still free. Um, and then I also came across a website called Fiverr.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you can go on there and find anything starting at $5. So I found my illustrators, my editors, my formatters, and everything. And that's how I came up with 14 self-published books. Um, but after I wrote my last book, I decided to stop for a while and start focusing on marketing. So I had to hire someone. Her name is Natasha Lee of That Girl. I don't know if you've heard of her. She's amazing.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Awesome.
that that's how that journey has been. But I'm on a new one. We'll talk about that one.
Amen. Yes, yes. No, no, I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah, because I know growing up, I was depressed a lot. You know what I mean? Because of the bullying, because of the abuse, and just not feeling loved and accepted. And so I would always struggle with that. You know what I mean? But like I said, this
Mhm,
past year, like, well, actually during the pandemic, the Lord started kind of just working with me on me and was like, I'm going to show you yourself. I'm going to peel back the layers. And I need
mhm,
to start to actually work on these, work on the wounds, and that's when I really went out. Because at that time I had just got married too. So I was a newlywed. I didn't know how to be a wife. I'm still carrying a lot of baggage from my past. I'm taking that on my husband. He like, girl, you is crazy. What is going on? And so we're having to, we're doing couples counseling. I'm doing counseling. He doing individual counseling. But I will say the total freedom that I've actually gotten over the past 2 years will be when I actually had to walk through deliverance this year. And I went with a deliverance minister and allowed them just to break. Everything from, word curses, just everything people have ever said, done, just coming for that pain as a little girl. Like, I'm telling you, it's just like a renewal, just like a weight has just completely lifted off.
Okay.
Of both getting mental health and deliverance, for sure. Man, oh goodness, it's just a powerful story. So thank you so much. Yes. But I do want to know more about your marketer. Can you tell us just a little bit, like how you got introduced to her, and like what kind of services she offers and things like that?
Well, she offers, like her name is Natasha Lee, of That Girl. It's a clothing line that was inspired by her mom, inspiring women to be that girl, regardless of what. Like she's been helping me as an author. I'm that girl, an author. And it just depends on whatever your journey is. You are that girl, whatever that journey is. And she's a very powerful, strong spoken, strong-willed woman. She not only does she have that clothing line, she helps you with marketing, with your website, with whatever whatever line of work or that you're in, she helps you with. And she's bringing me out of my shell a lot, because I'm so withdrawn, but she's this boisterous, outgoing person. And so she stay on me. She's my mentor. I met her years ago. I've never seen her in person, and everything has taken place online or by phone.
Amen.
But she's been that mentor for me, and helping me get my products. She's a believer. She helping me to be more of a believer in my products, my books, my bear, my bed sheets. So yeah.
Amen. Does she like help promote a lot of it, or does she just kind of coach you and stuff
Yeah,
like
she helps promote. She hires out, and she has her own team that helps promote and it's been helping promote my products and
that?
helping me get out there.
That's good. That's good. See, that's what a lot of people need. See, especially a lot of us self-published authors. It's like we immediately jump into this thing and we don't realize that really as soon as you create a book, you in business. Like this is not
Yeah.
for you to just have and sit on the shelf. Like this is business. And you gotta be able to be business minded, be like, okay, yeah, everything's produced. Great. I got, like you said, I got this on Amazon, but how do I market this? How do I set myself up to be marketable, to become a brand that everybody's like, oh man, I identify with that brand, and I'm gonna automatically buy and support your thing. So I love that. I love that. So that's awesome. Yeah, I want to learn more about your the other stuff you're doing. I know you got the bed sheets. Where did that all that come from? Did that come from the children's books too, or?
It does. Actually, it started out, I ran across this guy who printed games onto bed sheets.
Ooh.
And I was like, now if he can print games onto bed sheets, why can't I print stories? You see everything else on there.
I love
So
it.
I reached out to him and let him know that I was inspired by what he was doing with the games on the bed sheets and everything. And he encouraged me, and he wanted me to start out with Bible stories, but I I kind of shied away from that, because everybody have their own beliefs.
Mhm.
So really didn't know how to do the Bible story. So I was like, well, why don't I start out with my books?
Mhm.
So my first set of sheets right now has my bullying, the entire bullying book printed on it.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that.
And then it has positive affirmations on it. It has an open book with just general questions that you can ask. It's the same questions, but you can ask those same questions for each story that I will print onto the bed sheets. It has a typing keyboard so that it will inspire children to come up with their own stories. And it has a word search game pertaining to the bullying book.
Okay, that's awesome. So what
Mhm.
about your are you creating like bears or
Yeah,
dogs?
I have a koala bear that was inspired by my granddaughter. That's her favorite animal.
Oh,
And he will play 5 of my children's book stories. Um,
that's
this
so
is him.
cute. That
Yeah, so you press his ears and he'll play 5 of my children's book stories. He'll play soothing music. You can hook him up to the computer and download your own songs, stories, or messages. It has a headphone port for required option for children to listen to music, and it has a book that you could put a family photo in and a volume button.
I love that. So how did you meet the creator of that of the prototype?
Well, I just started doing research. I actually got taken for thousands of dollars with my first prototype.
Ooh.
Yeah, I lost a lot of money, and I kind of got frustrated. So I ended up. I always try to do things on my own, but I had to realize, I needed help. So I hired a toy creator. She designed toys for McDonald's and things like that. So I hired her, and she ultimately found my second manufacturer to do my second prototype. But the thing with her is she don't mass produce. So I'm now on my third prototype, which they took the second prototype and was able to come up with this little guy.
Oh,
So now I'm in a small production run right now to see how things go. But ultimately, I would like to license my idea
yes.
and let them take on that other process that it takes, which is marketing, getting them in stores. I want them in hospitals like St. Jude's and hospitals like that. And you got parents who are in the service. Um, they could download messages and songs and stories for their children and mail it to them.
Oh, yes. I would love that. That is beautiful. I
Mhm.
love that. That is awesome. That's gonna go a long way too. That bear.
Yeah, my granddaughter was the inspiration behind that. She said, because she's a product of divorce.
Mm.
And when she was around 4 or 5 years old, she says, Nana, I wish you could read to me every night through one of your bears. And I told her, I said, well, maybe one day somebody will come up with that idea. Little did I know it would be me 5 or 6 years later.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Yeah, girl. Yeah, I love that. Yes, I love it. I love it. Well, thank
Thank
you
you.
for coming on today. Is there anybody you want to shout out or any tell us more about how we can get your books, how we can get any of your products, your website, social media handles?
Well, shout out to my husband, my children, my granddaughter, my mother. All of them were seeds that was planted within me to become a writer, a toy creator, to become who I am. Natasha and their lead. There's some others who inspired me to get as far as I am. My brother, he's my biggest inspiration. Now, I can't call out everybody, but my family has really been there for me. Everybody can go to my website at mrsannybooks.com. I'm having a pre-sale on the on my Kobe Bear and the bed sheets because they are in production, but they can go ahead and pre-purchase it. Now I'm only doing 200 first run, so I'm having a 10% off for the first 200. But they can go to mrsannybooks.com, my website, and I'm on all social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn as Mrs. Annie Books.
All right. Awesome. Thank you so much, Mr. Nat. I would love to have you back in the future and just learn more about, what's going on with your products and any of other books that you may be writing. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Okay, thank you again for having me.
Yes, no problem. Well, thank you guys for joining us on another episode of the Author Push Talk Show. Authors, if you would love to be interviewed, I would love to have you. Please reach out to me. You can go to either one of my email addresses, breesmithglobal@gmail.com or authorpushshowcase@gmail.com. Also, please check out my website and subscribe at breesmithglobal.com. Once again, I am Bree Smith, and until next time, bye.
CB Supreme.
Gabriella Nalvin has written a delightful children's book entitled Athena, The Adventures of a Fearless Dragon. This is a heartwarming story about a little dragon born with her 2 back feet missing. And during her journey across the country, searching for a new home, she and her brothers learn to work together to survive while strengthening their sibling bond. Athena, The Adventures of a Fearless Dragon is now available on digital platforms.
Praise the Lord. My name is Dr. Roosevelt Robinson Jr., and I just self-published a book entitled God's Favor, My Wife. This book was prophesied by my apostle many years ago that said, I will write this book and it will bless many. I want you to go pick you up a copy. This book will inspire you, encourage you, and bless your soul. If you're seeking for salvation, if you're seeking for a closer walk with God, if you're looking for ideas for your youth ministry, if you're looking for that husband or searching for that husband or wife that God has promised you or that you desire, this book will inspire you, encourage you, and help you on your journey with God. Go to barnesandnoble.com, that's bn.com or amazon.com, and pick you up a copy. I guarantee it will bless you. I have shared my experience and my testimony of how I met my wife and we got married, and how I have gained favor down through the years being married to my wife. Be blessed.